Well, hello and happy Sunday. I am back home. It's 3 days post-surgery. I got this great souvenir from my hospital stay, and I'm gonna tell you the story all about what happened. Thanks for tuning in. Well, I might have hit a little bit of a glitch in the system. I came down to Coronado to go to the bank to get my money for my surgery, and the bank is having an issue with their system. So I wasn't able to get the money out. So I'm gonna do a few errands. They took my number, and I'll see if they contact me and let me know to come back so I can get my money out. Well, that was very lucky. The bank teller actually called me and she spoke English, and she said that the system was working. So I got Freon in my car. At some point I actually have to get the leak fixed. There's a leak in a tube, and so that's horrible for the environment. But for now, I had to just get the Freon because when I drive home from the hospital from Panama, my car will have been sitting in the heat. And even if you put, like the windshield thing up there, it still gets really hot. And I don't want to be hot driving home after surgery. So I got the Freon, then I went and got some other supplies like cat litter and cat food. I have to keep Feather in the life that she's accustomed to. I got her treats at Arocha Pharmacy. They're the only ones that pretty much carry these special treats that she loves. And now I'm just doing another couple of errands, gonna get back home and have to get some work done before getting into the mode of going to the hospital. And my friend Suzanne is coming to take care of Feather, so I have to get the house clean because that would be a nice thing to do for my friend who's coming to stay. I'm sure I look how I feel, a little bit frazzled. Of course, my code key lock decided to stop working like a week ago, but it was able to get fixed a little bit and it functioned. And then today it stopped functioning. So I actually replaced it myself. I mean, it took a while, but I did it. And I just got a regular key, just a regular handle with a key. I'm not gonna bother with the code lock. It was one that I ordered from Amazon. This is probably an example of why they don't sell them here in Panama with the codes, because the humidity probably just gets to them and they stop working. So I've got so much to do before leaving for the hospital Sunday morning. I have Airbnb guests arriving today, and then they know that I'm leaving on Sunday. And my friend is gonna be here taking care of the cat, and so if the guests need anything, she'll be available for them. I am so glad I checked the propane tank for the casita, because it's just about empty and I'm not going to be able to lift it after the surgery. So I still don't know how much my surgery is going to cost, but I'm going to bring $600 and you have to pay in cash. And I decided this is where I'm going to hide the cash. So I have it in a plastic bag and it's going to go in here. Hopefully that'll be safe. Well, it's 6 a.m. I am on my way to the hospital in Panama. And it's kind of funny that I've never gotten a confirmation phone call from the hospital to confirm that I'm having surgery, but I did confirm with the surgeon's assistant, so at least I feel good about that. She was supposed to tell me how much the surgery was going to be, but never got that information. And I emailed the guy on the helpline and never heard back from him. I've got my pillow my blanket, a roll of toilet paper, and just a day bag of stuff, clothes, some warmer clothes because it's very cold in the hospital from what I remember. All right, I should be at the hospital in about an hour and then have to see how the check-in process goes. I had to take a detour for this. So I posted before about the hospital stays that I had when I had the gallbladder attack itself, and that is what led up to getting the surgery. That video is on the playlist or a different link. I'll try and link to that video. But now I'm just going to talk about the actual surgery. So it took about 2 months to get the surgery scheduled. I think it was in the hospital, I guess in March sometime, and the surgery was scheduled for May 19th, which was a Monday. The surgeon said that generally they like you to come in on a Saturday if you're having a surgery on Monday, and then release you on Tuesday. But I was able to get to the hospital on Sunday, only have 2 nights there, and get released on Tuesday. So at 7:30 on Sunday, I checked in. They told me to go check in at the emergency department, and I went to one of the windows that I had been to before when I was there previously with the crazy pain of the actual gallbladder attack. This time I had all my paperwork for, the surgery check-in. So the woman just took that stack of papers and told me to go sit and wait. So I was there for about an hour, and a man came to get a small group of us, and we followed him, and he brought us to the ward, and it was the same room where I had spent 2 nights just getting some pain meds and getting the inflammation down. I had a bed by the window, which was nice to have a little sunshine come in. The rooms are very cold, and I'm glad that I knew that because I brought warm things. I brought a blanket, I brought a pillow, because they don't provide you with that. I brought a long sleeve shirt, I brought some pajama bottoms, and socks, because it was actually cold. So it was nice to have those things. The nurses weighed us, took our height and pulse, and then we settled in, and I just kind of took a nap for a little bit because I'd gotten up very early. The nurses then came in to the room with a flip chart, and I took pictures of the charts and used Google Translate, and it was all about keeping a wound clean and preventing infection after surgery. The other page on the chart was about not throwing away medical waste with food waste. So there were 2 bins in the room, and we just had to make sure to keep it separate. Around 11 a.m., an English-speaking young man came into the room to take blood, and I'd gotten all my labs done as I was instructed. I was told very specifically that I had to get an EKG, a chest x-ray, blood panel, and urinalysis 8 days before I met with the surgeon to schedule the surgery. This guy explained that they like you to do that so that the surgeon has kind of a baseline for when you're getting your surgery scheduled, but then of course they need recent blood. They didn't do a urine test. They did do a chest x-ray, and no EKG. And this, I think he was a resident doctor. He was telling me that he had done some rotations in hospitals in the city, and he wanted to specialize in ophthalmology. So that's what he's going to be going on to do. At 12 noon, that's when someone came in with a wheelchair that had one foot pad working, and I put both feet on there, and that's when I got the chest x-ray. 12:45 was lunch. I had chicken and rice, and there was green bean and carrot, and it was delicious because I was very hungry. I hadn't eaten breakfast, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to get food in the hospital. And this is the time when I was like looking around at the other patients, and it was just so incredibly sweet to see the older children like taking care of their moms, their elderly moms. There were two older women, easily late 70s, maybe mid 80s. And the daughters were, feeding them, and one of them was putting, lotion on her mother's hands and propping up pillows, and it was just so incredibly tender and sweet. And I just, kind of thought about my own mom and when she was sick, and I went to Florida to take care of her, and just those moments that are so meaningful between a child and a parent. The kind of like that, when that role reversal is happening. I'm sure a lot of you have elderly parents. I lost both my parents before I was 35. And I'm 60 now. So, typically at 60, you still have living parents that are aging. And anyway, it was just something that really was notable to me, and kind of stood out to me at how loving and kind and sweet those family moments were. Oh, and there was I guess it was a grandfather caring for his granddaughter. It was a younger girl, and she had a sister come in and visit. And at one point, the sister ended up helping to feed the older woman that was laying next to her, because her family member, had gone out for a minute. It was just like a big camaraderie. Like the woman across from me, there were 6 women in the ward, and the woman across from me had signaled that, my lunch had come, because I didn't see it. And, everybody kind of would like wave and wish good luck when they left the room for something. There were family members of the woman next to me, who spoke English. And so that was a great help, because when the nurses came in and they were asking me, do I have any hereditary things, and, what religion am I? And I don't know those words in Spanish. So he was able to translate for me, and that was a really big help. So at 3 o'clock, a large team of nurses came in to kind of get vital signs and review our cases. They would often come in and, take your pulse and your temperature. That was pretty routine. They're on a pretty regular schedule of coming in and doing that, even waking you up in the middle of the night. And one of the nurses recognized me from when I was there 2 months ago. That was kind of funny. So that was Sunday night. I go to sleep, and at 4 a.m., I'm woken up, and so is the woman next to me and one other woman. And they handed me 2 razors and told me to shave my torso and my pubic region. and there's no hot water in the shower and no soap and no shaving cream. So that was an abrupt wake-up call, definitely. I didn't bring a towel. I didn't think I was gonna be showering. I brought wipes because I figured I would just, use that. So I had to navigate all this with my IV bag attached to my left hand, and I had a different line attached to my right arm. So I've got 2 IV bags and lines and needles in my arm. There's no hooks in the bathroom, and I've got to get myself undressed, get into the shower, and try and figure out, how to do all this. So I did it. And then when I left the room, there was another patient who was trying to figure out how to snap the sleeves together on the surgery outfit, the thing that you have to wear. So I helped her figure out how to snap those together that make the arm sleeve. And I did not see the surgeon Sunday or Monday, really. Monday at 10:30 in the morning, I was still waiting. There was no word on when my surgery was gonna happen. I was obviously hoping that it was gonna happen sooner rather than later. They'd taken my, the woman, next to me, one of my roommates, they took her at 6 in the morning, and she was back in the room at like 11:30. And then all of a sudden it happened really fast at like 1 o'clock or 1:30. They came, got me. I walked over to the stretcher, laid down. They brought me up to the surgery room. The surgeon was behind me, and he was doing paperwork, and I didn't want to bother him and talk to him. So there were like a couple other medical people talking to me. They wanted to take off my 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴 anklet bracelet, but I convinced them that there was no metal in it. I was really hoping that there was no metal in it. I believe it's just glass and string. And then I was really curious, well, how do the 𝐒𝐮𝐻 women get surgery? Because they have beads all up and down their legs and arms. The anesthesiologist was very kind and helped calm my nerves. I really wasn't nervous until they strapped me onto the table. Your arms are splayed out, and they strap you down so that you don't move. And then I could definitely feel like my heart rate kind of quicken, and I was just nervous. And the room was cold and clean, and the last thing that I remember the anesthesiologist saying was, think about a place that's really beautiful that you enjoy. And the last thing I recall saying was, my garden. And then I woke up after the surgery. So that was just really kind of amazing to have that just be my last little thought before going under. You spend most of the time in the recovery room, a good couple of hours in there. The surgery is about an hour and a half. And then I was in the recovery room for maybe 3 hours, maybe 4. I got back to the room, I think around 6 o'clock maybe. And the doctor said there was a little, like my gallbladder was kind of attached to the liver, which I guess it is anyway. Anyway, because of the size of that stone, this baby, the only reason I have this stone is because they had to open up the gallbladder to kind of like get some of the stones out to be able to go out through my belly button, because that's where it gets sucked out. And then I have 3 other little incisions. Oh, so I slept, that night. They pretty much only give you paracetamol intravenously, and I had antibiotics intravenously. I was sore, like I'd done, 1,000 sit-ups without the benefit, but really there was no internal pain like the pain I had during the gallbladder attack in the first place. Oh, and I was so thirsty though and hungry, but I couldn't have anything after surgery for like 6 hours. So that was a long wait to, just get like a couple sips of water. The next day at 12:15, so this was Tuesday, around 12:15, there was a surgeon that came to talk to me and told me I had to come back to get the stitches out. The nurses took off the bandages that were covering the incisions. Then my surgeon came in and talked to me. I think I get to go home today, a little bit later. Looking forward to it. He told me to come back, in 9 days. I have to go back at 6 a.m, and you just go to the ward, and it's not an appointment. You just kind of line up and get the stitches taken out. So I have to do that. And I'm going to tell you how much it was. So keep your guess in mind or write it down in the comments what you think 2 nights in the hospital, the surgeon, surgery, anesthesiologist, IV medications. What's your guess on what that cost was? This was in a public hospital in Panama in Panama. This was kind of interesting. So, they gave me the bill to pay and asked if I had anybody there with me, and I didn't. I was there by myself. And so the daughter of the woman across from me, who was also getting released, took my bill. I gave her my cash, and she went to the window to pay for my surgery. And then she went and waited in the long line to get the medications that were prescribed. There was an antibiotic and paracetamol, which is equal to Tylenol, 500 milligrams. Interestingly, on that prescription, it says take it every 8 hours, but that really wasn't helping with the pain. I talked to my cousin, who's an ER doc, and he said you're safe to take it more frequently. And so I've been taking it like every 4 to 5 hours, and that's much more effective. And I just thought it was interesting, that like people were just helpful, it was just like no big deal for this daughter to, go up and pay for my surgery and wait in line, to get her mom's meds and mine. And, it was kind of like that in the ward with the 6 of us, where there was like a little camaraderie, I guess. So I brought earplugs, so I was able to sleep, and an eye mask. Okay, so for the surgery, the whole thing, now I thought it was gonna be like $500. And I looked online, and the public hospital in Panama City, I think at Santo Tomas, listed the surgery as $400. My surgery was $149.50. So that was for everything. That's the surgeon fee, the anesthesiologist, the nursing care, the IV meds, and 2 nights in the hospital. That's crazy. I mean, just amazing. I am going to look into the San Fernando Hospital insurance plan. I believe it's only like $130 a month for my age group. And I'll just have to get clear on, what kind of care they offer, and if there are discounts for services at the San Fernando Clinic, which is in Coronado, because that would be a big plus. Then if I want to get just some, routine things done, maybe there's a discount. So that's it. I'm home. I'm just, resting, taking it easy, kind of having a bland diet. I did buy some digestive enzymes and I've taken them a few times and that seems to help. And I'm gonna go get a little lunch now. Got home yesterday. I feel like I did 1,000 sit-ups, but don't have the results from it. And just gonna be resting the next couple of days. And Feather was walking all over my stomach last night. It was not good. I want to thank you so very much for all your well wishes and concern and tips and information and empathy. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.